Welcome to Paul Ponders. My name is Paul Solano of PS&L Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com. Thank you for joining me for my foray into podcasting. It is great to be collaborating with my friend and associate Chalonzo Amos of PodPro Entertainment to bring you some fun, exciting, and informative podcasts. For many years, I've been referred to as the Connector, or in Greater Boston circles as the Connector. With PSNLmarketinggroup.com, I've created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please sit back and relax and listen to today's podcast. If you are driving or operating heavy machinery and just listening, then please just listen and stay focused on your task at hand. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy my ponderings. Let #PaulPonders begin. Hello, everyone. It's Paul Ponders. How are you today? Hope everything is going well. And I just want to thank you so much for all the great emails and the comments that I've received from you. I've been totally blown away with how the podcasting world is going. I've been doing some Facebook Lives at Pearl Street Station Restaurant, and I have yet another episode of Paul Ponders. And again, if you want to reach me, Paul Solano, you could email me at paul@paulponders.com. Again, I want a quick shout out to Chalonzo Amos, Techie Chalonzo. Thank you so much for your great work with PodPro Entertainment, and it's great to be part of your network of many podcasts. So what are we going to talk about in this podcast? Let me ponder that. Well, I've done enough pondering. I know what I'm talking about. It's almost baseball season. We're in the middle of exhibition season. The Red Sox, are they going to do it this year? Are they going to win a championship? Who knows? But we'll see what happens. But I do want to just maybe reflect back on a wonderful poem that was written by a dear friend of mine. He has a birthday this month in February, and his name is Charlie MacKay, former Malden police detective, police officer, Charles MacKay, Charlie MacKay. Many of you know Charlie. Most of you know Charlie. He's a great guy. And Charlie is a poet, and he has a group called Ramblings and Rhymes, Inc. And Charlie has just penned so many wonderful poems through the years. He's a poet, and he knows it. But way back when, back in the day, BITD, as my daughters would say, Charlie penned Sox-Sational. And this was a tribute to the Red Sox winning their first championship in 86 years. And while we're in the baseball mood, why don't we just start listening to Sox-Sational? So sit back, relax. I'm going to try to do this poem, and we'll look at the rhymes, and we'll listen to the rhymes, actually. So here we go. Sox-Sational, written in 2004 as a tribute to the world champion Boston Red Sox. The years will pass as fans will too, but the legend will live on about the team of 2004, when the Red Sox nation was reborn. Their team of guys with beards and hair that set them fields apart from other baseball teams we've seen and blessed with skills and heart. Their story goes they came about a business deal at best that brought together such a team to lay the curse to rest. Now Werner, Henry, and Lucchino were not the guys who played, but their young GM named Theo, their plan to win was made. Sox fans who'd seen it all before watched trades to get the best and wondered when this team passed, would it end like all the rest? Well, one thing for the nation of Red Sox fans each year, they kept the faith their team could win, which brought them out to cheer. Thus Theo filled the roster with players a coach would need, and Francona, the man they brought on board to guide them with their deed. There's Manny, Ortiz, and Pedro, Damon, Mirabelli, and Lowe, Wakefield, Veritek, Nixon, and others we've come to know. Bellhorn, Timlin, Arroyo, Mueller, Reese, and Millar, Mankiewicz, Kapler, Embry, all had a role as a star. Through the season, others were added. Cabrera and Roberts also thrilling. Folk finished teams off game after game, though pitching that inspired came from Schilling. This team, by their own, called idiots, with their season of highs and lows, provided the fans a reason to remember, beyond all the hits and the throws. On those fateful days in October, when the pennant race came about, the Yanks, true to form, led the series, cursing Sox for an early knockout. But this team, with an image of misfits, made a comeback the records will show, defeating the Yankees of legend by taking 4 games in a row. The faithful of Fenway and Nation now believe just as much as their team that the planets aligned for a reason. A world title was close as it seemed. Yet some of the players tried to warn us, belief in themselves can't be stopped. 1918 was history. So too myth and mystery. The St. Louis Cardinals could be topped. To Fenway the fans came to witness a World Series of record and show. As the games unfolded before us, with performances we'd longed to know, pitching from Pedro and Lowe was as good as we hoped to see. But Schilling, though injured, responded like legend, the way we expected he'd be. The Cardinals, with stats to prove it, were touted the best in the game. Now they couldn't win here or at home, where winning ways brought them some fame. Their bats became hardly a factor, as Boston struck early with more. Ortiz, Manny, and Bellhorn together, with Damon added runs to the score. Who could have ever imagined a championship run like such? The Sox, once down 3, win 8 in a row. Teams found them to be just too much. Call it faith, myth, or destiny. But the Sox had it all that last night. While the planets aligned for a lunar eclipse, Damon homered in the first to write. Now history will record all the facts, and legend will add so much more. But truth be told, that hit was enough. The Sox swept the World Series in 4. No words can truly tell the story of that team that inspired us all. They believed in themselves and the game that they loved to succeed with a bat and a ball. For 86 years, with hopes and through fears, the faithful of Fenway were there. The World Series now theirs from the guys with the hair, and that curse they reversed that year. Beautiful job, Charlie MacKay. Ramblings and Rhymes. I hope Charlie tunes into this podcast and he gets to hear his words, his magic that the Red Sox exhibited in 2004. So, what does this season have in store for the Red Sox? Well, we'll see what is going to happen. We'll see how they play. We'll see what they're able to do. We can only hope. So, the season's going to be starting pretty soon at the end of March, and we'll maybe have Charlie MacKay on for an interview down the road so he could talk about his Rambling and Rhymes, but also his book that he had written back in, I believe, 2013. If you haven't had a chance to read Charlie's book called Suburban Blues, I really encourage you to go on Amazon or on Kindle and check it out. It's a book about policing in the 1970s through the 1990s. It's a story of one police officer and his attempts to combat criminal activity along with fellow police in the city of Malden and other communities. So again, look at Suburban Blues, check that out, and check out Ramblings and Rhymes by Charlie MacKay in Malden. So that about wraps up our podcast here. Again, I'm pondering, what am I going to do for my next podcast? Well, we'll see. I have some thoughts. Many of you have been asking me, what is this all about? And I say it's just my thoughts. And I want you to just continue to tune in, log in, subscribe, send me an email with some ideas. Many of you have already, and I thank you for that. So please do not hesitate to give me a shout out. So until we meet again, thank you for tuning in. Another podcast in the wraps. Take care and be well. Indeed. I trust that you have enjoyed #Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of PodPro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, and informative podcast. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PSandAllMarketingGroup.com, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Please share #Paul Ponders with your family, friends, colleagues, and associates. Thank you again for listening to #Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or website paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well, indeed.